I tried Bryan Johnson's routine for a whole year, but in the beginning I failed. Time, inconvenience, and budget were simply too much of an obstacle. But instead of quitting, I made it work for me, an average person. I made it work so well, in fact, that my HRV skyrocketed from the 50s to 150s, and not being able to run a mile in 12 minutes to running a half marathon at 7:48 mile pace, all in 8 months. So by the end of this video, you'll know how to get the same results as Bryan Johnson with minimal effort. Starting with the most important one, morning routine.
I always wake up naturally, so it's somewhere between 4:30 and 6 a.m. I wake up. I'll weigh myself every day. It's weight, BMI, fat, muscle.
If something can't be measured, it cannot be improved. That's why I track my body weight and use a Whoop monitor for my cardiovascular health. Wearables allow me to change my behavior and track if I'm getting the results I want. So after completing his health measurements, Bryan then gets dressed for the day.
I've recently been wearing lambs that make EMF protectant clothing.
This is one area I haven't implemented yet because I wasn't aware of it until making this video. But it got me wondering, what can block EMF?
It's going to be silver thread so your nuts don't get 5G radiation. I'll get you guys.
What's
This is
EMF?
where it gets crazy for me.
So electromagnetic frequencies.
Okay.
So the frequencies that come from your cell phone, the frequencies that come from 5G, the phone next to your nuts, your sperm count will go down.
I was a little disappointed with lamb products using 5% polyester, meaning they still contain some PFAS, also known as microplastics, but it's better than nothing. After Bryan gets dressed, then he goes to get his light exposure.
It's good because it helps increase vitamin D. It's also good for mood and your circadian rhythm in helping in sleep.
However, Bryan Johnson is not a fan of the sun.
It's bad because the sun can damage collagen and elastin, leading to sagging skin and wrinkles. It's also bad because it can lead to cancer.
Therefore, he uses a 10,000 lux light every morning.
I turn this on and I usually just enjoy thinking about the day for a minute.
While I use the 10,000 lux light, I don't sit and stare at it for 10 minutes. Instead, I turn it on while I eat breakfast or go about my day. Next, Bryan Johnson supplements iron plus vitamin C.
I'll take 10 milligrams of heme iron and 250 milligrams of vitamin C. I'm trying to get my iron levels up.
While supplements are helpful, I drink a beet, kiwi, and carrot juice every morning. One risk of 100% vegan diet is a low iron absorption compared to eating meats, which is likely why Bryan Johnson is supplementing with iron. After his supplementation, this is when Bryan goes and does his meditation.
It helps me really settle myself as I get ready to go throughout the routine.
So since we're on a budget, we're going to be meditating with Robert today. Let's go get it, Robert. This part of the routine I loved. If I'm being honest, I felt a huge intense vibration go through my body doing this meditation. I just lay there and did nothing. It was a weird feeling, but in a good way. But it also took 30 minutes. So for this part of the routine, I decided to incorporate it once or twice a week whenever I have the time. Now the last part of his morning routine is his morning skincare routine.
Skin is the largest organ of our bodies. I wake up, I wash my face with CeraVe. It's got some salicylic acid. I put this cream on, I just dab it on. Again, trial, we'll see if it works. And then I put sunscreen on.
On top of that, to effectively improve the skin, Bryan Johnson does multispectral imaging, facial revolumizing, pixels, intense pulse light therapy, and blue plus red light therapy. However, if I were to do that in the morning, it'd probably be the afternoon. So to effectively prevent my skin damage on a budget and time constraint, I wash my face, apply vitamin C cream to neutralize free radicals caused by UV, use an AM moisturizer, and then apply sunscreen.
I wear sunscreen because the sun causes damage. It ages the skin and causing aging damage. You want to avoid high UV index, which typically happens between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.
While I do apply sunscreen, I will say I do go out when UV index is high, which is probably the reason why I have these tan lines. But now that we got our sunscreen on, let's go work out. Bryan Johnson targets 5 areas to get the most effective results on health. He targets his joint health, posture, flexibility, muscle building, and VO2 max. For joint health, Bryan Johnson does backward sleds, tricep extensions, and seated calf raises. For posture, he does the 2 posture exercises, face pull, band pull aparts, external rotation, obliques, leg raises, oblique touches, and back extension. To build muscle, he does butterfly pulls, reverse push-ups, split squats, squats, pull-ups, chin-ups, and bicep curls. For his flexibility, Bryan does hamstring stretches, couch stretch, kneeling shins, and hip flexor stretch. And last, for VO2 max, he does ellipticals or biking. Two things I love about his exercise was it got me to work on my flexibility and it really got me to think about my joints. However, what I didn't like was the daily weight training and HIIT cardio. Like when you're lifting weights, you're breaking down your muscle, which needs 2 to 3 days to recover in order for your muscles to heal, thus getting stronger. So a split routine like push, pull, legs is more effective for building muscle or strength. As for cardiovascular health, doing HIIT workouts every day probably means you're not pushing yourself hard enough, since a proper HIIT workout will get your heart rate to peak really high. And if you do it properly, it will definitely put a strain on your body the next day. So personally, doing 4 sessions of zone 2 running and doing 1 HIIT session, 1 endurance workout each week helped me improve my HRV more. Honestly, that was the main reason I was able to get my HRV from being in the 50s to 150s. But now that we train, let's talk about Bryan Johnson's diet. The main thing with Bryan Johnson's diet is the nutty pudding and the super veggies. The updated version for myself is I don't use nut milk because they use guar gum. I use frozen pomegranates over pomegranate juice. And I don't use sunflower lecithin or protein powder because they are processed. Another thing is macadamia nuts from grocery stores were very expensive in my area. So I went to this website called Canby to buy in bulks. Technically, with $95, I'm getting 453 days worth of macadamia nuts. However, one of the parts that made Bryan Johnson's diet unsustainable for me was prepping the food every day, especially the super veggies. To effectively solve this problem, I started meal prepping. Yay, super veggies. I should probably turn on the stove. That's right, the moment I turned on the stove, I also started boiling my cauliflowers. I chucked the broccolis in for 15 minutes at 375 degrees, and by the time broccoli hit 15 minutes, the cauliflowers were also ready. Alright, we're gonna get it out. Oh my god, it's really hot, but yeah, we're getting the broccolis out. I have a towel, let's be careful. Ooh, ouch, ouch. Alright, so the broccoli and cauliflower is cooked. Bryan Johnson uses 250 grams of broccoli and 150 grams of cauliflower alongside with garlic, ginger, and then some lentils and so on. So yeah, I'm just gonna pack it up. Basically, I just packed everything up. We got 7 days worth of super veggies and then I washed the dishes like a good boy. The time I need to be in the kitchen to prep 1 week worth of food is less than 5 minutes. If you count the time where it's cooking, I guess it's like 30 minutes. I do the same with my supplements and my nutty putty ingredients. However, there was one thing I wasn't implementing, which was stretching while eating. So I guess we're gonna give it a shot. This was a pretty new experience. Initially, it was uncomfortable, but I started actually enjoying it, and I might start doing it in the future. Now that we're satiated, let's see what Bryan Johnson does for his oral health. Oral health is important because it actually impacts our lung and microbiome. So to effectively take care of our oral health, Bryan Johnson does the following.
Well, you can wait 30 minutes after eating because your teeth enamel will get a little soft after eating. So waiting 30 minutes before you brush can be helpful.
Only then he would start his oral routine.
The first thing I do in my protocol is I use a water pick. After water picking, flossing is number 2.
And only after these 2 steps, he starts brushing. Now, Bryan Johnson has 3 criteria once it comes to his toothpaste.
They don't have fluoride, they help whiten, and they don't have other junk.
Personally, I use a native fluoride-free toothpaste because I can find them in my local store. And to finish his brushing routine, he uses a tongue scraper. Now, at last, let's talk about Bryan Johnson's evening routine. So the first thing Bryan Johnson does once he's back home, he cleans his workspace and prep for the next day.
Clean workspace allows me to have a clean mind. When things are cluttered, I'm a bit bothered by it. It's a pretty small effort to try to maintain a really organized environment.
After the chores are done, Bryan does his skincare routine.
I use CeraVe wash. I use both CeraVe PM, which has the hyaluronic acid.
For me, I take a warm shower and then I apply the hyaluronic acid just like Bryan Johnson, but on top of that, I use retinol because retinol helps neutralize free radicals in the middle layer of your skin. This helps reduce the appearance of wrinkles and enlarged pores, so I just do it habitually. And finally, this is when he goes to sleep, but this is also where it gets interesting because we get to see Bryan Johnson's sleeping environment.
This is the most boring bedroom I've ever seen in my life.
That makes me so happy. This room is only for sleep.
Hanky-panky?
Hanky-panky can happen.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So what's in Bryan Johnson's room?
so first you'll see it's blacked out. I have a temperature controlled bed. This is 8 sleep, so it modulates the temperature throughout the night. I have some grounding sheets. There was some evidence that it helps on glutathione production. I have 2 air filters in the room that we're playing with, but trying to maintain optimal air quality.
And then he sets up his sound.
One thing we've been trialing lately was using theta waves for improved sleep.
So what worked best for me with Bryan Johnson's routine and probably continuously gonna do is practicing caloric restriction, eating early, focusing on VO2 training, stretching and posture, and prioritizing sleep and measuring my health using wearables. What I may do occasionally but not every day due to time constraints are meditation and HRV therapy. However, things I won't do moving forward or can't do for now are all the skin protocols that require machines, go full vegan because I do enjoy my eggs, and doing the same workout every single day. And while I'll be applying sunscreen, I don't think I'll hyper obsess over UV and not go out just because the UV index is high. Sometimes you just gotta live life. And with that being said, I will go off protocol if I have events with friends or family, because the whole point of health is to experience life to its fullest.